This distinction between Islam and faith, of course, it is mandatory for us to be both. But we see many people these days in particular who imprison themselves in the outward expressions of Islam and yet forget the inward, the faith, the thing in the heart. And therefore, we look at the Islamic world, we see people killing one another, Muslim killing Muslim, and the beard is grown, and the turban is on the head, and everybody is observing the prayer and the fasting. But this is empty religion, because it is religion without faith. It is the outward picture of religion. But we ought to remember that a building depends on the foundation. Before you start going up high on the earth, you should have prepared the strong foundation that can carry your building. The mistake is, of course, rampant in the Muslim world, as you see now. Shia and Sunni, Kurdish and Arab, etc., etc., etc. But faith, it doesn't exist, because faith resides in the heart, and the heart is the place where God resides in. If you are really faithful to God, and if you have faith. And God is love. And you cannot have in your heart love or God and have hatred at the same time. This human defect is not particular to Muslims. Read the history of Europe. Read Christian history. Read about the Inquisition. Read about Catholics and Protestants. You'll find the same story. This is the result of the blindness and the selfishness that wants a human being, wants to be his own God, even wants to utilize God for his own purposes, instead of recruiting and devoting himself to be the instrument of God Almighty. And this happens even today. And if this continues, it might mean the end of humanity. In older times, Cain killed his brother Abel, person to person. Later on, war and armies were known. Later on, battles were not between armies, but between armies and the civilian population. And later on, we have the atomic bombs that can destroy humanity and destroy planet Earth several times over. Unfortunately, the affairs are in the hands of politicians, and the politicians don't always heed what God heeds. Politicians want to use God rather than to serve Him. And if this continues, it can well be the end. And this has to change. Don't hope much that the politicians will correct course. But it is in your hands, the people, the world over to correct the politicians or to replace them with the right politicians. So you cannot afford to remain complacent. You have to do something about it. I notice in many cases that the ambition of religious people is to convert people to their religions without correcting their hearts. It is our observations in the Muslim East, all over history, that with the invading European armies, there was always an army of preachers to convert Muslims. Hence, people associated missionary work with colonialism and don't welcome it. My suggestion to the religious community is to try to work upon their own people so that the Christians become real Christians and the Muslims become real Muslims and the Jews become real Jews. And then if you do that, at the end you will find a humanity bound together with love in God, the one God whom we all worship. But trying to convert wouldn't work. You convert one person and you got 1,000 angry at you, and you are furthering hatred and not love. And therefore, my religious conclusion, I am past 82, and who knows if I can reach 83 by the end of the year. All my life I was interested in religion, especially Islam. My conclusion from religion, the only lesson I derive from Islam, is try to spread love. I don't want hating Muslims. I don't want hating Christians or hating Jews. Be people of love, and God will be pleased with that. So try to please Him before you succumb to selfishness of own religion, own country, own category of people, own color, own language. And therefore, this reminds me of a little poem I wrote a long time ago. Travelers on land and planes and ships on the wings of love soar above and sing from your hearts, not only your lips. God is love, God is love, God is love. Thank you.